All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
This is...
I swallowed a book.
Well done.
I like that. That's always fun. Hello, everybody.
Yay.
This is part 3 of Apocalypse Now so far. The final chapter of the Apocalypse Now.
The heart of darkness itself.
Yeah, tonight,
Reached.
today, tomorrow, this morning, last week, we are spoiling the final chapter, which is, Pat, what's the official title of this movie?
Hearts of Darkness,
Many hearts.
so
many hearts.
A Filmmaker's Apocalypse, 1991.
And this is a journey into a bunch of millionaires telling us how hard their lives are, right?
It's a pretty famous movie documentary. People like this movie.
I do, but at the same time, I was thinking to myself, okay, you're in the jungle for what was it, 280-day shoot, something like that?
That's pretty crazy. It's a long time.
Yeah, but they weren't in war.
Well, sure sounds like they were.
It sure... God.
That?
Let's just let this soak in. I love this.
You can't have spoilers without Flight of the Valkyries now.
You have
Just
to
include
have Flight of the Valkyries.
Royalty free. Check on that, Spotify.
Suck a dick.
It's A-cast.
Both of them.
I love that. I could listen to this all night, really, I could. No, but tonight we're going to be going down the adventure of, the painstaking time it took and the effects it had on these people's lives to make this movie, this masterpiece, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my opening question for you guys tonight before we really get into the apocalypse that was the now.
Mm-hmm.
What is a pressure cooker moment in your life that you can remember that you're kind of proud of, where it's like, I got 4 hours to knock this out, or I have this much time to do this, and I did it, and then I went home and I collapsed?
Apocalypse when? The newspaper clipping showed later in the movie. His production kept crawling along. But...
Josh, I'll start with you.
Oh, I thought Pappy was... I was killing time for Pappy.
You seem like a project guy.
Dang. I'll take a little bit of a left turn here. This is what popped in my brain when you said that. This one time I was working on a big project. I'm a video producer, editor, and I couldn't figure out how to make the third act interesting and how to get into it. And I had a dream where I thought of a transition from from Colorado to Indiana, basically, through a microscope. I thought of it in my dream, and I woke up and tried it out the next day, and it worked. So do you care if I spell it out
Please.
a little bit more? So they put the microscope on the table, and as the camera goes and starts looking in the microscope, you actually see the little amoeba cell, and it starts to zoom in on that, and it goes through it, and it gets kind of cloudy, and it fades into this drone shot from above these people biking in Colorado, because the guy was a science teacher who did biking in Colorado. So
That is awesome.
I'll show it to you sometime. It's actually
Please.
pretty sweet. It's one of my favorite moments as an editor, and I thought of it in a dream. So I thought that was kind of a unique time. But
Didn't Francis Ford Coppola do some of that too? Thinking of stuff from dreams?
he thought of stuff from demons. I think he
Oh.
said demons, not
Right.
dreams.
Yeah. Okay.
Pap, let's go to you.
This is such a hard one to spring on us, Stevie. It's not fair. You're putting right now would be a time I'm under pressure and trying to come up.
Something
But,
interesting to say on the podcast.
this is not going to be a good example, but there was a game that was briefly available on Google during the 2025 NBA Finals, and I started off getting 17 points, and everyone in the thread laughed at me.
I didn't even know you got 17 points.
But in this mini cup game, I was the first person ever to break 100. They said it couldn't be done. And it's like when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, and all of a sudden people knew it could be done. Then the floodgates shattered.
It's this little mini basketball game. It's this little mini game on your cell phone, and you just flip the ball up at this hoop, It's because the NBA finals are on, right?
Right.
OKC
It's also incredibly non-responsive.
It's really
Yeah,
laggy and hard
It's
to
so
play.
laggy.
But it made sense that you sucked at first and then reined in. You harnessed your pap grease powers,
Oh, yeah.
and you could just slide so quickly on your screen, making bucket after bucket.
Yeah, you're just constantly moving your finger from the bottom of the screen to the top as quickly as you can to try and shoot as many hoops
Get
as
in
you
lo-
can.
get
Not
in
even
line.
really aiming.
just
Just
spraying.
flicking as fast as you
Yeah.
can.
Get in line, ladies.
Spraying
Pappy has the
grease
quickest
everywhere.
fingers.
Yeah. And they're the slipperiest. You know what I mean?
You know what? That's actually a huge factor because my thumb keeps getting caught up on the glass. Like it's like there's friction there for some reason.
Never been a
Because
problem.
you're a normal
Goes up the
human,
shot.
Mikey. So I get that too.
Never been a problem for me.
Mikey, how about you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Well, my job involves working in live TV, so every day is like quote unquote high pressure, as in your mistakes will be seen on air, but you just kind of get used to that, I guess. Or you tend to not think about it, and I don't know, you do make mistakes, but hopefully you learn from them and know how to get better at it. But when you work in live TV all the time, you just kind of get used to that because every day seems like something could break or go wrong or whatever. So the pressure is always there, I guess.
Do
But
you guys say puwaba in a circle
Yeah.
before each live broadcast, Mikey? Just wondering.
there's a lot more screaming and cursing going on. Not so much puwaba.
It's nice to
Didn't
know
really-
that still exists. The cursing, the behind the scenes anger on TV. I feel
No,
like we need that.
No, it's all team building cursing. It's nothing ever demeaning towards people.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
There's like a curse word ever flown on the air. Like, you gotta give us something. Like, what's an example of shit hitting the fan that you had to recover from? No names.
I don't know. I mean, just have live shots drop out, and then you gotta like we'll be taking a press conference of anything at the White House or whatever, and it'll drop out, and then we gotta scramble to get the next story or whatever, get people in place, stuff like that. I mean, it's live TV, so that kind of stuff happens. Stuff is gonna break, stuff is gonna go wrong, or
Who had
stuff's
their
just gonna
wiener
end
out?
abruptly. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you gotta work around that.
Nice. This is Stevie. Let me see. I think this was...
2 weeks ago in Project Hell.
That was awful. No, this was probably, I'm trying to think here, about 7 months ago. At my job, I used to lead company-wide inventory. And I went through a 2-week stretch because Pappy and I talk on the phone every day where in 2 weeks, I probably got, 20 hours of sleep?
All you were doing was counting shit.
All I was doing was counting and getting that shit in line, and we had an amazing inventory. And I just remember wanting to sleep for 2 years after those 2 weeks because it's just like so many things to get in line and so many things can go wrong, and you're in charge of 40 people over 6 hours saying, "Hey, here's what we got to do. Here's like you're doing this. Like it's just a lot." So I remember that being kind of my pressure cooker moment of just like, if this goes wrong, all eyes are on me. But if it goes right, no one's going to say a thing.
Did you get the feeling that you would never do an inventory that good again? That you had
I retired.
3 amazing inventories.
That was
in
the
a
last
row?
dance.
And then maybe you had some good inventories in the future, but you also had some crazy inventories like Jack or other
Yeah, I mean,
Metalocalypse.
yeah. So it was. I think this last inventory was my, Godfather Part 2.
You got one more in you.
I don't. No,
And it's a bad one. You got a bad inventory left. in
No,
you.
you got 10 inventories. This is like QT with the amount of movies. You're way underestimating yourself. This isn't the trilogy. You got 10 inventories.
I retired. I don't ever want to do it again.
Dude, so it's more like Martin Sheen. He's just got 2 missions and
That's it.
He's out.
That's it. Nope. That was, I was told what my duties were, and I said, someone else can do this next time because I am exhausted.
Do you ever think that like Martin Sheen?
Jordan came back twice.
That's true.
It's true.
Not brother Jordan. Jordan never came back.
yeah, Michael Jordan.
Do you ever think that like Martin Sheen wasn't that much older than us, and he was smoking 3 packs a day and had that heart attack? Like, we gotta take care of ourselves. We can't have this kind of stress.
It does scare me a little bit, to be honest with you, that he was 36 and had a nearly like a widowmaker, like near heart attack.
Actually, I remembered it all.
It's a short clip.
I mean, unless you're smoking 3 packs a day, Stevie, I don't think you got to worry too much about dropping dead any second.
Well, I just can't stress myself out with like pressure to get the high score. You know, I gotta take it easy.
Pulling my hair out, flicking my
Really
flicking my
makes you
finger
think
across
about
this
what's
phone
important.
screen.
Yeah.
God. But let's start in the beginning, I guess. Josh, what's kind of the backstory to Apocalypse Now before we, the pre-production of Apocalypse Now?
So I think the premise of Hearts of Darkness is that
Plural.
Eleanor Coppola.
Coppola. I like Coppola.
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 She is like behind the scenes filmmaker documenting her husband creating a movie. And we've kind of seen this before in the Sweatbox. So we know what this is like, right?
You release some more wife making documentary about the movie.
And she makes a little quip in the beginning about she doesn't know if he just didn't want to bring like another crew to add to the already enormous crew, or if he was just trying to like keep her busy because she'll like nag him if he doesn't give her like a job or something. So I think that's the answer to your question mostly, Stevie. It's like, this is her production, and yeah, there's other producers and stuff, but like you will hear a lot from her. She starts the thing off, she ends it, she has voiceovers, she has interviews of herself. She really inserts herself into this.
She does.
Well, she's the mastermind behind the production.
Yeah, she does, but she doesn't insert herself. Like, I don't like her voiceover. Sorry, it's just a little annoying, her voice.
Worst.
Sweatbox didn't even have a voiceover, and that worked fine. But 2, it's like, whenever she is bring up her own feelings, she's like, well, listen, if we lost our ginormous mansion, if we went bankrupt, it's no big deal. It's like, how could she have been that cool? You know what I mean? Or have someone else come in and be like, oh, she was a saint. You know what I mean? Like, give me that perspective from an outsider. It's just like tell me she had to be more stressed than she's letting on. You know what I mean? The shit seems insane, right?
Maybe things weren't as dire as they made it seem.
Where's the hidden clips of her bitching out Francis, being like, Francis, quit being so neurotic. Chill. Like, you made 2 really good movies. Calm the fuck down. Go
She's
to bed.
basically his therapist the whole time. In those like hidden conversations, she's like, well, how come you think that you can't do it, but everyone else thinks you can? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the discrepancy between that? But that said, Pappy, I tend to agree with you. I have this clip hold. I was going to save it. It's actually like saved to be one of the last clips, but I think we should play it.
This is the end.
She really unnerves me with how she's like, yeah, Francis almost died. It was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, he fainted. He had a collapse, and he told me that he could see himself going down a dark tunnel, and he didn't know if he was dying or leaving this reality or what was happening to him. But he'd gone to the threshold, maybe, of his sanity or something. It was scary, but also kind of exhilarating or thrilling that he would take such risks with himself.
Exhilarating for her that he would take risks with
Insurance
himself.
policy.
It was pretty cool. I almost got the whole mansion to myself.
Yeah.
I think so. We've only done 3 like behind the scenes making of documentaries,
Which are?
write-up reviews. We did In Search of Jim and Andy, right? Isn't that what it's called?
Jim and Andy.
Josh is going somewhere right now too, by the way. He's fine. Jim and Andy.
Talk about pompous and arrogant.
Yeah. we did the Sweatbox, and now we've done this. And like Jim and Andy felt like a pointed, basically attack at Jim Carrey's behavior on the set of that movie.
Are you sure it wasn't him just trying to make himself look good?
I don't think Jim Carrey came away looking good. We didn't get that impression.
For what movie?
Made me like him more.
Jim and Andy? Did you guys?
I
Talk to
got
dolphins.
I got called the Jim Carrey hater, and I'm like, he's a jackass.
He seems like a
He's making life decisions off dolphins.
Yeah. There was
You're by the ocean, Jim. Dolphins live there. Cool.
It's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I wish I could do that too.
God.
the Sweatbox was like clearly just like an outsider, and it felt like we were seeing something we're not supposed to be seeing.
Basically pulled off the internet.
Yeah. It's like it felt like almost watching like a snuff film or something that's like it's like bad. Like you shouldn't be seeing this.
God.
It is a little weird when it's like the wife is not only a major character of the documentary, the voiceover, and like ostensibly has creative control. You know what I mean? So I think at the end of the day, it does kind of come away with like, man, Francis was so badass and he risked it all and he almost died. But you know what? He did it. Which, maybe that's true. But I wish it was a subjective filmmaker.
I think to that point, like, I could have subtracted maybe 2 or 3 minutes of her voiceovers and added just 3 or 4 minutes of like Francis arguments with Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Just get us way deep into those
that'd be
conversations.
really cool.
Just let us live into that. Like lean into it a bit.
It's not to say that she's like afraid of playing fucked up things that FFC says. Like him saying like, if Martin Sheen dies, don't tell anyone, tell me fucking first. He says he's not dead till I say he's dead. He literally fucking says that. But I feel like there's got to be more. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be through her lens ultimately.
Well, through his as well. I mean, you can't tell me he didn't have final say over what went into this goddamn thing.
Correct, Amundo. Yeah.
I mean, as much as I love Francis Ford Coppola's movies, like, and there is a bravery to him, right? It's kind of commendable. It's like, yeah, he kind of explains it in the beginning that like the American military has too much equipment, too much money, too much time, things go wrong. I feel like that way about movies today. I really do. I feel like movies have too much money. You don't have that desperation in there, which is what we get in this film. But on the same token, I feel like Francis Ford can be a little. I think he takes himself very seriously.
Yeah.
I think that, if he could call himself the artiste, he would. Like, it's just, he feels very, very self-important. But what I also find kind of cool about this is this came from a novel, right, Pap, called The Hearts of Darkness?
Yeah.
No. Heart of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness.
Singular.
Okay. Singular darkness. Okay, yeah. Which is kind of a similar story, just not in Nam. It's about a guy who was like a normal, like high ideal guy that ended up going to the natives and kind of becoming more.
It's like some Belgium dudes going through the Congo.
Joseph Conrad, written in the Congo. Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about this in the series.
Was going to be Orson Welles' premiere film. Cannot get it financed. And this is all in Hearts of Darkness discovered. Pivots to making Citizen Kane. Obviously a legendary movie. I feel like that's very telling because it being in this documentary and it being from FFC's perspective, we know he knows this is the movie that Orson Welles couldn't make. You know what I mean? So for him to then
couldn't lick it,
adapt it, like he's saying something here. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, he's rallying the troops with Orson Welles couldn't lick it.
Puwaba.
We're gonna look this Puwaba together.
Goodness.
I mean, like, right? Like he's like, you talk about pretentious. He's doing this
for a guy who doesn't want to be pretentious. He awfully seems like he wants to make the Orson Welles movie that Orson Welles couldn't make. You're right.
What is George Lucas's Hearts of Darkness like, Stevie? Or Apocalypse Now like?
Why don't you let me tell you through this clip?
What we had done is strung together all of John's anecdotes and sort of the things that he had from his friends who had been fighting over there. And it was really a quest or a trek or something that would take us through the various aspects of the Vietnam War, and we would see it for the insanity that it was.
Okay, so do I respect the hell out of George Lucas as a filmmaker? Yes. Always have, always will. Do I think he could handle a film like this? Not a chance in a million years.
This has got Phantom Menace written
This
all
has-
over it.
Think about getting deep into the weeds.
Yeah.
I mean, this man would have gone to levels of extreme that just, I don't think it would have, like, it would have been.
That civilian guy, the CIA officer that gets one line, extreme prejudice.
Great line.
The whole movie's about him and the politics behind, you know what I mean? It's all about like
Tariffs?
the Federation tariffs.
Tariffs. I mean, Terminator with extreme prejudice, like. I mean, George Lucas, what would he have done before?
After the typhoon, what would he have done?
I want the Goongas to come out of the woods over here shooting at the boat. George, you cannot call them Goongas. Good Lord.
I need you to line up the dinks over in the woods there, and I need,
George, no.
I need some Coke Zero. Coke Zero.
I need a list of all the Vietnamese slurs you guys can think of. It's all going in the movie.
I think one of my we're unloading a lot of the clips early here, but one of my biggest takes from George Lucas at the beginning was when he described like the original ending for the movie.
Which was what?
I'll play the clip in a second, but do you remember what it was? Because it's pretty badass, I gotta admit. I know you don't like the original writer, but I actually love this original ending. The clip is going to go from George Lucas to John Milius describing it. But before we hit that, I want to hear what you guys have to say about it.
It's like a fucking Rambo.
It's Rambo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll hit it. Fuck it.
At that point, we had it ending in a very large battle with the Viet Cong, and having Willard and the Kurtz character fighting off all the Viet Cong. And then when they bring in the helicopters to bring his men out, he says, "No, I fought too hard for this land." He shoots down the helicopter.
Hell
Fight
yeah.
for the land that's under our feet, gold that's in our hands, women that worship the power in our loins. I summon fire from the sky. Do you know what it is to be a white man who can summon fire from the sky? What it means? You can live and die for these things, not silly ideals that are always betrayed. What do you fight for, Captain? And he answers, because it feels good.
That voice you heard there at the end, John Milius, right?
Milius.
Milius. He looks just like John Rhys Davies, doesn't he?
Oh my God.
Is he not this fucking spitting image of Gimli?
I was waiting for him to say they call it a mine.
I literally thought, fuck, he wrote Apocalypse Now? Because I kept calling him John, too. I was like, wait a second, what?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You guys got to understand that ending versus the ending we got is kind of where I'm coming from. Like, maybe that's not the best ending of all time, but that sounds pretty cool.
I don't think it's near as good as the ending that we got.
Shadowy slices with a dagger in the dark.
Yeah.
A yak that they found by the side of the road.
Gosh.
Like,
They're having a blood orgy rave in the rain.
See, that's what's crazy is like, yes, do I think this is like a totally unbiased documentary? No, but there are insights like the climax shot of the movie, the yak, was just a chance. Like Francis Ford Coppola didn't even know this yak was.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, they walked in on that ritual.
Eleanor, is that what her name is? Eleanor? Mm-hmm. She's really the inspiration behind the ending. Without her, it couldn't have happened.
So
she
she
saw the
says-
chickens. She saw the pigs. She saw the cow. She pulled, he didn't want to come, but she pulled FFC to the scene, and he saw them slaughter this yak. And he
Hey,
was
honey,
like,
check it out.
And he's like, yes, this is how I end my movie.
I see the ending of the movie is just like too ambiguous. After he kills Brando, it's like, is none of the other guys like gonna attack him or whatever? It's just like he just kind of walks out of there, and I found that a little unsatisfying.
But also, Mikey, you were pining last episode about like, I wish I could see what's good about Marlon Brando. Like, why is he
that's
so
what
revered?
I would really want to see. Yeah,
So if the
I'd
Viet
wanna see that
Cong
one.
attack them while Martin Sheen's like in camp, you might see his tactics in play. You would see him as a sniper or whatever he does that's so good. I feel like maybe that's unshootable. Maybe maybe Francis Ford just like kind of wimped out of that ending. Didn't think he could do it.
Pap, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You know, I have a tough time believing that FFC would just fire people without a
Harvey
little
Keitel?
nudge. Why do you think Harvey got fired?
See, that's a huge problem too, right? Like
They really gloss over
Yeah,
a
they just gloss over
massive
that.
part of it. It's my issue with the whole documentary.
you're telling me
Do me
there's none of
don't
that
just
footage?
answer why. Set this up a little bit for the listener who has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
think
the most important character in the film.
we alluded to it briefly in the like previous parts, but the original Willard, the star of the movie, was going to be, what is he in Reservoir Dogs? Which color is he?
Mr. White,
Mr. White himself, Harvey Keitel.
Harvey.
the wolf.
It's hard to even to me, Martin Sheen and Harvey Keitel have just such different auras about them, right? Like one is soft crazy, one is aggressive crazy. You know what I mean?
One's like Brooklyn crazy.
Yeah. I can't imagine Harvey Keitel doing the scene in the fucking hotel room that Martin Sheen does, because it's just a very totally different performance. But we don't.
Harvey would have gone out and killed a Vietnamese child for that scene.
All we get of it in Heart of Darkness is an allusion to, yes, he was the one who was originally cast. I think we get like an interview, talking head interview with Harvey Keitel, I believe, right?
No.
No,
Not at all.
No,
Nothing.
FFC says something
That's
like
crazy.
he didn't have like the depth of character or something. That's the quote. That's like all we get.
Then I watched one on YouTube after this where he was like, it was more than just a blip, but he didn't even get into it. So there's very little information that I could find.
And they never showed any screenshots of Harvey Keitel as Willard, and that was very frustrating.
they had 2 weeks of dailies
for
too.
it.
They had 2 weeks of dailies.
Yeah.
Come on, when is that footage going to get released to Peter Jackson to make?
Here's the thing, right? Like, it's like, if this is going to be one of the most legendary making of documentaries of all time, like,
Show it a
we
little
need
bit.
it. We need to see it. I can only imagine, Stevie, to finally answer your question, that like Harvey Keitel was.
You make it past it, Eleanor.
I wasn't gonna
Dude.
go there.
Oh, really?
I don't know, because I'll say this. As far as I know for Francis Ford Coppola, he's pretty confident in what he does, and he fights for everything that he has an idea for.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a tough time believing he's just going to fire his lead on a whim. I really have a tough... Because he knows the story inside and out.
Does
he's
he?
fought like hell.
He's just making it up as he goes.
Well, right, but he's fought like hell to get this thing moving, right?
Yeah.
What's believable though is that he comes back from this first, like he's got his first group of dailies all together, and he's looking at him with the editors, and you could imagine it dawning on a director like, this is my lead. I have to have the screws down on this, and he's just not nailing it.
But here's the thing too. Like, remember what we
I
said?
mean,
in the
even
movie?
Eric Stoltz got 6 weeks in Back to the Future.
How much is Willard really asked to do in the movie outside of that initial hotel scene? He doesn't do
Thank
fucking
you.
shit. He's just riding on the boat.
So
the
it's
whole
all.
time.
So it is about depth of character. It's all about the look, like in his eyes. Like if he's not pulling that off, then what does he have?
But and honestly, like when you picture that scene of them interrogating and harassing the Vietnamese boat, which by the way, apparently the crew came up with the idea for that scene.
Best scene in the movie. I said
Best
it
scene
last
in the
episode.
movie. Yeah. That like I can picture an angry Harvey Keitel's eyes shooting that woman and that conveying to the audience like, this dude's scary as fuck, versus like Martin Sheen, who's just kind of like impassive about it. But it's like I said, a totally different aura, energy to those two performances and those two eyes, what we're seeing.
Maybe that's what he wanted, was someone who, I mean, he says in the
Harvey's a
beginning
pretty
it's
damn
all
good
bullshit.
actor, man.
Yeah.
Like I have a tough time believing that it's just, hey, we got a week or two of dailies and you're out. And
Some hard heresy to say that he came after his wife, though. Do you have any
That's
inkling
crazy.
into this? Is this like
that's what they can think. That's what they can think that ain't gonna
Listen,
happen.
he's not making a pass at Eleanor. We've seen Eleanor.
Yeah. Here's my other
I think Eleanor is pretty cool.
what we get about like Francis's direction. It seems very general towards his actors in this film.
Seems very generous.
He told like Martin Sheen, who plays the same character Harvey Keitel was fired for playing, has an anecdote where he says, I didn't know what I'm supposed to do with this character. And Francis just said, be yourself. Literally, that's the quote. And like, so like what?
What transpired for him to go,
Yeah.
Sorry, bud. I'm already over budget, but gonna cut you loose.
We gotta know more. I'm sorry, Hearts of Darkness. You lose points for not showing me more. We gotta see it. I gotta know.
Like, that's a big deal that, like, the guy who made probably the two most important movies, up to that point, he's making his third now, fires his lead actor after a week or two.
And you replaced him with a 37-year-old man who has a heart attack in the middle of production.
36.
Yeah.
And, like, Marty, too, I mean, it's not like Marty, like, read for the role for, months and, oh, you just missed it. It was like, hey, I'm going to meet you at the airport. What do you think?
You guys have to know that, like, Harvey getting kicked off this movie had to have been a massive deal.
Huge deal. Yeah.
And of course, they signed something that was like none of that footage
will ever see the light of day.
Yeah. So I think, like, especially when it was this close to the movie coming out, it was only like 15 years after that this documentary came out.
That's weird.
I don't know if that's a long time or not, but they're not ready for that footage yet. I think it exists somewhere, though. It's got to, right? It's on the cloud.
We're ready now. I'm ready
It's
now.
time. Release the tapes.
I mean, my whole thing is
Has he ever said anything about it?
Like I said, the only interview I saw on
Have you
YouTube.
look up on your phone or something what could have happened? Like, I mean, have you ever looked it up?
No, what did he say? What did he say about it?
Like there was someone prompting him. They're like, so that was kind of a little like he was talking about his career in general. He's like, and you had Apocalypse Now, which was a little blip. And Harvey Keitel goes, it was more than a little blip, let me tell you.
Well, there's so much prep going on
Yeah.
previous to him showing up on, like,
You're
in
flying
the Philippines.
halfway around the world. Yeah. To this intense shooting conditions. Yeah.
I think he probably prepared harder than Marlon did, too. So he had a little bit more of his own skin in the game.
Well, not just that, but
Harvey Keitel is definitely a little more rough around the edges than Martin Sheen. So maybe that's just like
Pat brings
what he saw in Martin.
Pat brings up a good point, though, because I mean, Martin does have this weird aura about him. Like it's a
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely has an aura to him. It's not like Harvey, who just looks like he was born pissed off.
Here's the thing. The honest truth is, like, when you see people who have killed, like, I've killed like 500 fucking Iraqis with my sniper rifle, they kind of do look more like Martin Sheen than Harvey Keitel. Like, they don't look like scary people. They kind of look like fucking nerds.
Normies.
Yeah, So maybe that's what he was going for.
Also, another really disappointing part about this documentary is not enough Robert Duvall. I wish I could have just listened to him talk the entire time.
I don't have any clips from him. There's not enough. What does he even speak on? Just basically that.
There's an intensity to the shoot, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
man, that was brief.
Yeah, and it's Robert Duvall, one of the most famous actors of all time. I'd like to just hear him speak on it. But the one thing I kind of noticed, though, with Francis Ford Coppola would talk about how he would chop up the screenplay, this, that, and the other. I definitely think that Francis Ford wrote word for word everything that came out of Kilgore's mouth.
Yeah, it seems
that
like
seemed more up the line of Francis Ford's writing than it did John Milius. Is that his name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It rang more true to the story, in my opinion.
What I do love about this documentary is seeing all the Kilgore beach scenes, like the practical side that goes into it. At one point, there's a guy lining up extras, like children leaving for a fire drill. You know what I mean? Like, kind of just like the wrangling of all these people, the breathtaking, like, just fuck, there's helicopters just flying around in the background. You know what I mean? Like, nothing like this will ever be done again. And you're watching the scene. It's like, you know what? I can't believe no one fucking died in the making of this movie. That's crazy.
Dude.
That's crazy.
Wild,
Yeah.
no one died.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall did have one gold nugget that I remember.
What do you say?
Remember when he was talking about, like, John Milius had all these, like, accounts of people doing shit like surfing? Like, they'd play these little games because they're just men and they're bored and they're doing stuff. And it wasn't surfing, but he's like, instead of surfing, they would, like, take their helicopters down to, like, 3 or 4 feet and try to steal bikes off the street. Like, with, like, the little rails.
Yeah.
And people would start shooting at them, so they'd start lifting up, and then they would, like, stop shooting, and then they'd go back down to try to steal a fucking bike again.
Jeez.
And he was like, he took that mentality into that character. Like, I've been out here for so long, this is kind of getting boring. Like, what are these little games within the game I can play?
I'm going to surf during the war.
Yeah, that was like realistic to that character at that point.
That is kind of funny.
I did look it up.
Drop your John Milius knowledge that you were withholding.
Yeah, you said there's something nefarious about the movie.
Yeah, I mentioned John Milius, and apparently, according to Pap, there's some demons in the closet.
Well, you said he's a pederast dude.
I said, is he a pederast?
It was a guess.
Dude, right? Keyword dude. Apparently, he is great friends with the Coen brothers and the inspiration for the character
Walter?
on The Big Lebowski.
Really?
Yeah, which you can kind of see it. I can kind of see it. Just a crazy dude talking about
Oh, he's got
Nam.
like guns all
Just
in the background.
always talking about Nam.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I mean, I can kind of see it. Yeah, he seems like he has a little
What is that,
crazy
John
energy.
Goodman's character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that recent theory that was put out about Big Lebowski?
No.
Apparently, Jeff Bridges was in an interview and he said, someone told me this theory and I watched the movie and it made sense, but Donnie is made up character in John Goodman's head just about Nam.
That's funny.
And like, I guess there's only like one instance where like Lebowski himself talks to Donnie and you could interpret it as him just like kind of helping John Goodman out,
Yeah,
like
John
just
Goodman's
placating to
delusions.
him. Yeah.
I mean, I also looked at like John Milius's IMDb, and he has like a couple different iterations of Apocalypse Now related projects, including like Apocalypse Oz, I believe it's called, where Dorothy goes down the yellow brick road to kill someone in the land of the Emerald City. So yeah, maybe a bit of a one-hit wonder with this. Maybe his celebrated return to set was slightly exaggerated in his eyes.
God.
When you brought that up pre-pod, that was hilarious.
What's that?
When you were like, I'm back. I'm here to make everything sane again. Don't
God.
worry, guys. The Savior's here.
Savior's here, gang.
Yippee! Not the guy who directed the previous two Best Picture
And that's
winners.
the guy who has like 8 Academy Awards under his belt over 4 years.
Yeah, we
Let's,
trust this guy.
Yeah. One thing I did find really funny, this documentary is not really, it doesn't tell a very cohesive story in my opinion.
It doesn't really have a point of view.
It's
or
not
narrative.
cohesive. It doesn't have a point of view. It doesn't have
It's chronological. I think it goes along as the filming goes along. I think that's what it's trying to do.
Call me a loser, but then give me some dates. Throw some dates on the screen and like let that pressure build of like
The closest they got to this
shit.
is this is the first day of filming. This is the 100th day of filming and the 200th actually. Like I agree with you. It's they play it pretty loose.
It's all right. I want to cut whatever you were saying a second ago, but don't you find those like little brown nosy of the yay Francis, you made it 100 days.
Dude.
Like, yay Francis, you got a big fucking
Pizza
fireworks
party.
display for 200 days.
Ice cream social.
Can we just go
There's
home and
been
sleep?
0
No.
days since a workplace accident.
God.
On the 200 day one, it also said best of luck Francis. Like, dude, good luck boss, like with this.
One thing I'll say though is this movie glosses over a lot of things. My favorite part, it's not my favorite part, it's just the funny part that gets glossed over very quickly, is when there's a producer who's like, hey, flying people in from LA, it's very expensive. You round up a couple of locals, couple hundred locals here and there, you pay them $1 a day, give them a hot meal, send them on their way.
I hope we weren't taking advantage of them, but that's what we paid them.
That's what we paid them.
That's
That's what scale was, guys. I don't know what
Cut to one man holding a 400-pound cinder block over his
And
head.
a bunch of guys going, oh!
You know what?
They were like, George got fucking crushed from that yesterday. Back up, fellers.
I'll say
He
it.
didn't die. He didn't die.
I don't believe that no one fucking died making this movie for a second.
Oh, they just buried him in the jungle.
think
It's easy
someone's
to bury
floating
a
out
body in the
now.
jungle.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Philippines.
We see some of the bodies. They use the bodies.
That's why they had that tiger on set ready to go.
Yeah.
One aspect of this story that I do respect Francis for a lot, though, is so much goes into pre-production, building sets, getting stuff ready, mapping things out. Oh, yeah. That typhoon and that storm wiping out all the sets and him still pushing onward and having
Crazy.
the wherewithal to cut those scenes I'd have been angry. I'd have been like, no. We fought like hell to shoot this shit. Like we, embrace the weather. That shit stays. Having the wherewithal to say, hey, this actually doesn't make sense. We're going to cut it. To me, is a sign of a really, really good director.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what those scenes were? The extent of that scene on the beach of Iba? Because I really dug into this today.
What was it?
Did you watch the reduc?
I didn't. Because it's not in that either.
Oh my god! It's not even.
They went to put it in that and then took it out of that too.
Then just show us the fucking.
And if you look at the whole deleted scenes, like 23-minute YouTube video, I watched through all of it today. This scene isn't in there. I only found like this bigger YouTube video that talked about it and showed it in clips. But here's the scene. It takes place when like Charlie Sheen is part of the crew. They're all alive still.
Martin.
Not Charlie, and not
Not Carlos.
Gosh. Wow, what a Freudian slip.
Not Carlos Estevez.
The crew is together. They're going up the river, and that typhoon hits that we talked about in real life. And Francis Ford is like, we got to go shoot. So they go and shoot this scene. It's called the medevac scene. Medevac scene. And they come up to this beach, and it's supposed to be like destroyed. Like there was a company here, and now it's like all burnt out. And there's like two guys on shore, and they're like, we don't know who the CO is anymore. He died. And the other one like barks or does some animal noises because he's like completely flipped out. And so they're like, oh, they're messed up. And I was like, oh, that seems like a scene that fits in. But then it goes further. They see like a light that looks like a little bit too fancy for the mud beach.
Yeah.
And it's a Hollywood light. And it's because that whoever that dude is who flies in the helicopter with the Playboy bunnies, he's there with his helicopter and the Playboy bunnies in like a tent. And he's like, we are about to go to the next location. And the army was like, we have to use this helicopter now to evac some of our guys. So they took the guys out, brought the helicopter back, and left us on E with fuel. And they've been there for 3 days stranded. And so Charlie Sheen, this is
No.
okay. This is where it gets crazy, though, boys. Martin Sheen, he negotiates with him, and he's like, "I'll give you 2 of my barrels of fuel if each of the Playboy bunnies gives my crew some time."
What?
Yeah.
That's so
Giving you a
weird.
peek into why they cut this
Oh.
scene. And Charlie Sheen takes part. I think
Martin.
They show it.
God damn. I'm honestly not doing that on purpose.
They
Martin
show
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen spreading AIDS.
So like Martin Sheen, like they make a point to like show that all the crew members are involved. What I remember them saying is that like Lance and Clean, like Lance does one of them first, and she's like kind of like, that wasn't actually that bad. And then Clean's like, I get seconds. Whoever Chef is with is just like, all right, let's get this over with. And whoever Martin's with, they like throw their like shoe at him on his way out because they're like, you disgusting pig.
Whoa. That doesn't fit in within the concept of Lord at all. Like he wouldn't care about the other guys getting laid. You know, like that's not, he's not going to try and buy them a service, you know? Like,
And I think
odd.
Yeah.
that's probably why it was cut. And also the problematic nature of it. I don't know.
Can I say, do you care if I jump around a little bit with this documentary? Steve?
Go.
You know what I really fucking hate about it? It's like,
Damn.
It's presented in a way, like, listen, this is like, I've heard people say that Hearts of Darkness is better than Apocalypse Now. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Okay, wow.
Calm down.
Who's saying that? Eleanor Coppola?
Eleanor.
What really grinds my gears about it is that it's presented in a way where it's like, okay, here's all the making of. Oh, here's all this filming and all the shit that went down. And then all of a sudden it goes from like the last day of filming to premiere. Almost like they like fucking just took the film
2 years later
from the camera and loaded it into the projector and movie. Like, dude, the editing is the hero of this movie. The editing is what makes Apocalypse Now in many, many ways. Like, in so much the fact that there's a 4-hour cut of the movie that exists, right? But the theatrical cut is considered the best movie of all time. Like, I mean, did that bother you, Josh, as like a person involved in editing and the production process quite a bit? It's to not even give them one talking head, you know? one acknowledgement.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know like what the process was for editing.
It's just, yeah.
Like any insights could have been great because like you do get the feeling they shot a Mount Everest of footage.
Yeah.
In this amount of time, over 200 days of filming, right? It's supposed to be 16 weeks.
280 days of filming.
Let one of the editors get interviewed and say, and then we went to work. And that's all you got to do. Just acknowledge that they had to sift through all of this shit that they had.
Watching a lot of the footage from this doc and a lot of the deleted scenes today, I tend to agree with a lot of what you're saying, Pappy. Like, they cut out the right stuff, including like what you think would be good scenes where you see Dennis Hopper die. Mm-hmm. It happens off screen in the theatrical cut, but there's a scene where he dies. And who's the Colby?
Colby.
You see him die too, and you see how that all plays out, and it's not as good as it is in the theatrical cut, where it's all left a little bit unsaid.
Mm-hmm.
But at least we get to see the French dinner scene that was cut. That made absolutely zero sense in any context why that would be in the movie.
FFC kind of points the finger after all that's said and done.
Yeah.
He gives a little bit of I didn't like the lighting. I didn't like the...
So I wasn't going to fucking use it.
It was just bullshit.
Listen, there's two distinct scenes in Apocalypse in this movie Hearts of Darkness where at one point he goes, the cast just was not getting it done. I didn't like the cast. Rewind 30 seconds. Get me French people. Give me the closest French people you can find. I don't care if they're in
all
Tokyo,
the French people from Beijing
Singapore,
you can find.
Japan.
I'll be goddamned if I have to pay to fly someone from France. So just any white people in the
You're right.
area.
There's a certain disdain with having to I'm not paying for this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, it seems like a cool idea for a concept. Like I don't really think about some weird French plantation owner hanging on in the middle of the jungle out there. But I don't know. He's pretty dismissive of it at the moment. Like, nope, pretend it never happened. Never happened.
It almost seemed like a situation where when all the Nazis fled to Argentina, they have little pockets of community.
They still do.
It seemed kind of like that, but I don't know if that's real with the French in Vietnam or not. So maybe he is actually pulling from real history.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was something that actually happened or it was just something he added and we were supposed to be oh, the French were also involved in Vietnam. I don't
heavily
exactly.
Yeah, the French were heavily involved in Vietnam.
They were what was this guy doing? He was a plantation owner, Josh said?
The French did move into Vietnam in mid-19th century. So they were some of the first Western, quote, Western folks to start.
Which I get the conversation they want to start, which is when you're leaving, he's leaving, this is my home. I understand that conversation that wants to be brought up, but in the context of the movie, it makes zero sense.
Yeah.
If they had the original ending where Kurtz is I need to protect this and I'll shoot down the American helicopter to protect my land, then maybe that makes sense that you
It's a hefty fucking fee.
You get a peek into that with the French, right? They're protect our home, and then later he's doing it. But
it's kind of what you fast forward towards the end where FFC is just none of it makes any fucking sense.
Yeah.
He's and part of me at a point does feel bad for Francis Ford Coppola just because of Drew. I want to talk about this with you.
Who?
I want to talk about this with you. Pappy. Sorry.
No, leave that in.
Yeah, I want to talk about this with you, which is, was Marlon Brando miscast in this movie?
Why do they need him so badly?
I don't know. $1 million in 19 when this movie came out, 80, 79?
What were the names he was listing off? He was listing off Jack Nicholson, Robert
down.
Redford.
He says, if I can't get Brando, I'll get Redford. If I can't get Redford, I'll get Nicholson. If I can't get Nicholson, I'll get Pacino. If I can't get Pacino, I'll give someone else.
Within 3 weeks.
Nicholson
would have been
Nicholson, I think, would have knocked this out of the
Nicholson
goddamn
would
park.
have done everything that Brando
Watch
does.
A Few Good Men.
But better. Yes.
Yeah, watch A Few Good
He would have
Men.
been in shape, too.
Yeah.
He'd have been in shape, prime Nicholson. Mm-hmm. That would have been...
How many times has Nicholson played menacing and crazy? It really
Every
fucking well.
goddamn role.
every movie.
Every role. Watch Anger Management, for Christ's sakes.
I think Redford's better.
Would you have gotten this though?
I swallowed a bug.
Dude, the part that makes my skin
It didn't make
crawl-
the final cut, but
you know,
swallowed the bug.
the part that's always made my skin crawl the most of this whole documentary, and it has from the first time that I watched it, is that like Marlon Brando is getting paid his $1 million a week, and
In advance.
and it, like, yeah, he flies out there, and there's the scene of them like sitting on this Mayan temple that like, you know, a dozen Filipino men died building and were covered up and eaten by a tiger.
heresy.
And like, they're just sitting there talking, not fucking filming anything. You know what I mean? And like, you have the whole crew just sitting around watching them talk. Like, Stevie, that makes it just bothers me to no end.
I think
It's hard to
I think
watch.
there's a lot on the cutting room floor about Francis Ford Coppola screaming about Marlon Brando. Because at a certain point, he's already there.
Yeah.
He's already schlubby and out of shape. He's already fired one actor.
That's
you can't
the
be a
other
director who
thing.
fires two.
That's the thing,
You can't be
right?
a director who fires two.
He offered him an out too. He's like, okay, so we'll portray you as someone who like has given into their pleasure.
Yeah.
You're eating mangoes
You're
all the time.
eating- yeah.
And Marlon's like, no, I don't like that.
It's not a betrayal.
Marlon Brando could not have been bothered to read the book.
That's the thing. He's like
crazy,
when they're
dude.
talking about, you know, there's a realization that Francis hit him where he never read Heart of Darkness.
Yeah.
And it's like, you gave this man $1 million. He's schlubby as hell. You can't. You're already struggling to find your ending, and you can't do anything. Like,
You already know this guy doesn't memorize his lines.
Right.
You already worked with him one time
That's
or two
true.
times.
Yeah.
You already have beef with him, or at least on the lines part.
And on top of this, you have Dennis Hopper, who's just like a squirrel on coke, just who won't even let Francis get a word in.
He acts like he was just so grateful for a role. And then
wouldn't
they
shut
show him
up.
on set and he's just like so demanding, I felt like.
Yes.
I mean, listen, we talked about how great Brando was in The Godfather. We talked about how, I mean, like, he's one of the best actors of all time. He's amazing and On the Waterfront. He's got 1 million great performances. But this is like 20 years after his prime. You know what I mean? And like, The Godfather could have, we said it could have easily been the worst thing ever as it was good. It just happened to be iconic.
He's
And-
dancing on a wire right now in this movie.
He's half-assing it. And then those other actors that we listed, these are all like young men in their prime. Like, how could Harvey Keitel have been so much worse than like what Brando is now that we see it, right? And like, I know we were defending, but Stevie, like, remember in the episode you were like,
Ooh, just tell Harvey that he can play Curse now.
bring him in.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good theory.
we just shuffled you around a little bit, but he was overweight. He was unprepared. It's a mess. It's awful.
It's really bad. And you're right. You have 300
People
people.
still love him in the final cut, though. The theatrical cut. like,
I've
works.
never understood the Brando love in this movie. It's the worst part of the whole movie to me. Is
It's a little
Marlon Brando's character.
anticlimactic. I think
Because
compared to Nicholson showing
You're-
up.
I mean, you're literally going into the jungle. You're hearing about this almost myth of what is Kurtz, right?
Yeah.
You know, what is Colby? Like you're how can a man, you know, an American true, you know, red, white, and blue through and through, end up becoming kind of this savage and leading this whole community in Cambodia. And then we get, you know, schlubby Brando and joggers. Like it's just it's hard.
Nobody's fat in the jungle.
Right. And even Francis has the wherewithal to be like, hey, we'll make sure you get all the food. Villagers are starving, and you know, we can kind of go the Immortan Joe route.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I don't want to do that.
It's like, no,
I'll just pause it. Mikey just said you can't get fat in the jungle over Marlon Brando saying I swallowed a bug. But how? Maybe if you just are always swallowing bugs.
Accidentally swallowing bugs.
It's like Timon and Pumbaa eating all those grubs and shit. You could gain some weight out there if you know what to eat. If you got a bunch of people serving you. If you're eating yak, mangoes.
See, the thing is, they'd have to show that. And like,
But Marlon Brando didn't want that.
that's like the worst. That's the worst part too. Is like, Papa kind of alluded to this earlier. You can't be the director who fires two.
Yeah, well,
You can't fire two. You can fire one. You can't fire two.
there's really funny little inserts in the movie that are like political cartoons, basically, or like entertainment section cartoons. And there's one that's like Apocalypse When. I don't know, he was feeling the pressure, right? And that's my biggest thing too, Stevie, is like all of these problems are of his Francis Ford Coppola's own making.
He didn't have to film in the Philippines.
Do you like this one?
This one, yeah.
Describe that.
So it's a bearded Francis Ford Coppola, which is not accurate to the filming as we saw, but he has little saplings in the first panel.
And he says action with the saplings.
In the second panel, the saplings are growing and no one has moved. And in the third panel, they are now giant palm trees. And he says, cut through his megaphone on his director's chair. It's good stuff.
Worth spelling out.
But like, you know what I mean? Like these are like, he financed the film. He has all of the power. He's making all the decisions. You know what I mean? Like he even says, I can't quit. Who am I going to quit? Me? So all of these things, Brando.
He hit on Eleanor. He had to hit on Eleanor. So I think that makes sense.
They're all of his own making, all of his own problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they are. And
well, he went out in the jungle to try to find the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
With the cast and crew like in tow. That just seems like a mistake. Like a lot of people consider it a success that they landed on this thing, like sacrificing a yak juxtaposed against him slicing up Marlon Brando. But I talked about it last episode. I think that's the weakest part of the movie. I still think so. Well, I don't think he found the heart of darkness in there. I don't.
It's a little line, but there's one argument he's having with Brando's people at the beginning. And Francis Ford Coppola says, well, I just thought he would be more flexible or like malleable. And like, what's the difference if he comes 3 weeks later? Meanwhile, it's 200 days later when Brando is finally flown out to the Philippines. Had he actually had, and like in Francis Ford Coppola's justification of this is like, I want to shoot the end of my movie at the end of my shoot. That's fine. But if you actually knew what your ending was going to be, you could have been more flexible in your production, right? And then realize, oh, fuck, Brando can't do this, and and had the time to trade him out versus like, okay, I've been doing this for 200 days. I'm in the hole this much money. We just got to go with what we have. You know, it's all his fault.
And they also shot the Martin Sheen alone in the hotel room completely out of order too. That was like one of the last things they shot.
Yeah.
And
didn't seem to matter.
Yeah.
Was Brando getting big for another role, or was he just crazy?
He's always he enjoyed the
fucking with him.
No, I think he just enjoyed parts of life that could make him gain weight.
Eating?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I swallowed a bug.
They do dwell on that Martin Sheen scene in the hotel for a while, though, a little bit later in the movie. Because, like I said, this documentary goes chronologically as the shooting days went, right? So they shot that later on in the production. And did you think that was over-dramatized too, Pap? Like, do you think Martin Sheen's like performance was like good enough to be lauded in that way? Like he really bared him, like was vulnerable to the soul and all of that. I don't know.
No, I think that shit's cool. Like, good for them for getting Martin Sheen and rolling with him. Quote, not a drinker at the time, which I don't believe for a minute.
That's 100% a lie.
Yeah.
No fucking way. A guy smoking 3 packs a day isn't touching any alcohol.
Listen, he just wasn't.
That's the only thing I want to do when I'm smoking.
He had half a scotch and he just punched that mirror as hard as could. It was just, bless his heart. And then smoked 2 packs of Camel Reds right after.
Pappy, I played for this clip for you before the pod and you loved it. But this is, Martin Sheen does get vulnerable emotionally. He punches, he gets blood on his hand. He also, at least in front of the cast and crew, hangs some massive dong. And some probably butthole. Really embarrassing poses. But this is what he said the next day.
Show that footage.
Show the butthole cut.
I pretended I couldn't remember a lot of the things I'd done that night. Actually, I remembered it all.
That's it. He just pretended he was papped out.
Bullshit. Actually, I remembered it all.
Anyone ever done that before?
Pretend to black out.
Man, I just want to focus on that behavior.
Exhilarating.
What about that I mean, it's not anything regarding the making of the movie, but we talk about all these helicopter accidents all the time on the sets of these movies. Bring up the Landis one quite a bit, and he's just like and FFC is just hanging off the side of this helicopter and hops off. You see the helicopter kind of wobble a little bit when he hops off. It's like, oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
He's getting way too comfortable out there in the field. It seemed like pretty crazy.
Part of me thought that Francis was on a little bit of vacation. I mean, I know he seems stressed and everything, but like
from Eleanor,
he seemed to kind of like be happy to play in the mud, if that makes sense.
Didn't he look? He looked good. Like I've never seen him without a beard. He said he lost 30 pounds during it. Like he doesn't look like how I imagine Francis Ford Coppola
Schlubby.
looking.
had his shirt off the whole time on set. It seemed like
He was in the water a lot, being like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this. We might do that." In fact, there's a lot of downtime on this movie as well. Like a lot of downtime.
Yeah, the whole crew's just sitting around while Marlon Brando and Francis Ford Coppola write the ending of the film together. Like,
I just picture like Francis Ford Coppola trying to like explain who his character is, and then Marlon being like talking about craft services or where's pizza.
When are we gonna eat that yak?
I see there was a yak on the outside of the film. When are we gonna eat the? Is there any other parts of this movie that stuck out to you guys? I thought bringing the children to the Philippines was bad parenting on Eleanor's part.
Well, why not his part then?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Joint decision.
I think it seems pretty tight, honestly.
What?
I think it's pretty cool.
Sophia just bailing water out of their flooded out motel room. That sounds dangerous as hell.
Francis cooking pasta.
As there's communist insurrectionists like 2 miles south of them.
Rebels in the hills.
The kids
as their dad is hanging off of helicopters and diving into like piranha infested waters.
They want to see him one last time.
There's not actually piranhas there.
I like the young Larry Fishburne for just in like final thoughts.
Yeah, Larry.
And he said that one story about the guy who came back from Nam and just smoked dope, and that's all he does now and just smokes dope.
Were you just segueing to something, Pappy?
No, but
because I have to make an apology. Last episode, I said that Chief says to Chef, like, loosen up and start smoking that dope. But upon further reflection after recording, I guess he says stop smoking that dope. But I think if you listen to it, like you guys told me pre-pod, it's got that like Laurel nanny feel to it. You can listen to this and hear stop or start.
Start.
Here it is. We might play this a few more times.
So get out of that Frizzly Army looking shirt and stop smoking that dope. So get out of that Frizzly Army looking shirt and stop smoking that dope. And stop smoking that dope.
Start.
I think it's funnier if he says start smoking.
I hear start.
Oh, okay, officer.
It makes less sense, but it's more funny if that's what he says.
I want to keep that on the soundboard forever.
I have a couple clips that we didn't play, and they both revolve around, interestingly, I thought it was important when I was watching the movie, FFC's thoughts on the ending of the movie.
Oh, God.
Okay. So this is where he was at in the moment, okay?
And yet I'm doing it, and the reason I'm doing it is out of desperation because I have no rational way to do it. What I have to admit is that I don't know what I'm doing.
And do you remember that clip we played earlier in the movie where it had John Milius recounting like, and Captain says, because it feels good. Yeah. You hated that. I liked it. This is what Francis Ford said about it.
And he answers, because it feels good.
I never cared for the ending so much. I thought the ending was weak. The ending didn't top what had happened with the helicopters, and it didn't answer any of the kind of moral issues. It got into a real gung-ho, macho kind of a comic book ending.
It's a pretty brutal edit to have him be super into.
I never liked it.
Yeah. I always thought it was stupid.
There's maybe one more part of the movie that deserves a little insight, and that's when who played Lance? He divulges that he was actually on drugs the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was kind of interesting.
Sure.
Did
you drop acid?
Sure.
Did you smoke dope?
Sure.
That night I did acid, though. I didn't actually smoke acid. I was on speed.
And marijuana. And alcohol.
We are bad boys.
Cool, Lance.
You actually slowed down production by like a lot of time.
What about the... I have one question for Stevie, actually. The ending speech of Francis Ford Coppola, The Pretentious, when he just goes on and on. That is also a TikTok classic clip.
Is it?
That shows up in my For You page once every other week. That exact
Really?
clip. And I don't know why. Yeah.
What? Someday there'll be a broom boy that can make a video better than any Jedi ever could.
No, not the little fat
No,
girl.
fat little girl.
First of all, I gotta call her fat.
I know. That's what I was referring to.
No, the worst thing you can be is pretentious. Like, but we all aspire to be pretentious. And what if I just say fuck it and I be pretentious?
I hate that shit so much. I mean, no, but I mean, I know that PTA probably watched that video 100 times and took it to heart and made movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Francis even being like, I don't want to be pretentious. He's going out of his way to be pretentious. We all know who Francis is.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into yes or no's. Pappy, let's start with you.
I don't think Francis Ford Coppola knew what he was doing with this movie at all. And I think Hearts of Darkness shows that pretty clearly. It's an okay documentary. Honestly, I think of the three, I like the Sweatbox way more. I guess because it feels more like forbidden. It's kind of annoying that this is like through the lens of his wife. I want to see more fucked up shit. I want to see the Harvey Keitel footage. I think like the best Apocalypse Now documentary could still be made if we saw all that, plus Martin Sheen's butthole. So I'll give it a yes.
Pan down, damn it.
A normal hard yes. I don't know how many more times I've watched it. I've watched it a couple now, so I'm probably good on it. But some interesting anecdotes.
Mikey, how about you?
Yeah, it's good. Mostly because the movie that it's about is incredible. But it does leave a lot to the imagination. Harvey Keitel, and we brought up a good point about we don't see any of the edit, which actually saves this movie, which is insane to not include in this documentary, I think. Because, man, he any problem that could have gone wrong on set did go wrong, and it would be really cool to see how an editor, a director, the producers, the writers all work together to actually make this thing come together. I just don't think that there's enough detail in this. It's a cool documentary for sure, but I think Eleanor was taking it easy on Francis for this. But it's a yes.
Josh.
Yeah, it's a yes for me too, but I do think whereas FFC had like total control over his movie, Apocalypse Now, Eleanor just didn't have total control, or she just totally kind of wimped out. She's a true like journalist, storyteller. There's got to be footage of like Martin Sheen like collapsing or getting taken away, like Harvey Keitel like dailies. Got to see that shit. More arguments. Get us like into the nitty gritty of the arguments he has with the actors on set, like that. Even when he's wrong, like he still made the masterpiece. Just let's hash through it with him. I could have lived with that stuff for a long time. But that said, it's like still really good, and just could have used a little bit more Duvall. Robert Duvall. A little bit more
more Kilgore.
Napalm in the morning.
More George.
Agreed. What about you, Stevie?
Not my favorite documentary in the world. Not my favorite behind the scenes movie, like Pappy said. A lot to be desired, I feel. A lot left pondering, hey, what happened here? Especially when we're talking about like one of the most famous productions and famous movies like ever made. But there's enough aspects of it, like from FFC, not as much Duvall as I'd like, but just some behind the scenes stuff that I did enjoy. I just wish that maybe this is against Francis's wishes that they actually would have gone somewhere with what they were trying to do. So I'll give us a soft yes. Some parts really annoy me, just kind of like, how did this firing happen, or why is Robert Duvall not in this more? But soft yes.
Yeah, Miss Duvall.
You guys ready for some trivia?
You made a trivia?
You made trivia?
Yes. Closest to. Gets to take us out. Hot take.
Wow.
Not mini cup championship?
No.
I got my fingers all greased up for nothing.
All right. We're going to do it in this order. Josh, Mikey, Pappy.
Don't worry, we only have 11 minutes and 50 seconds to finish the pod, guys.
Is that it? Are we out of the SD?
No, the end is playing.
Oh, okay.
It has to line up, okay?
If Martin
Don't mess
Sheen
this up.
came to northern Indiana today and said, I'm going to live like Captain Willard did
Say Martin
before
Sheen?
the heart attack.
Charlie Sheen or
Martin
Martin
Sheen.
Sheen? Okay.
Martin Estevez.
Good to keep those straight.
So, my question for you is, if he bought 3 cigarette packs a day of Marlboro Reds
Yum.
and bought 3 packs a day and smoked them for an entire week, how much would he have spent? How much would he have spent?
In our time or that time?
In our time right now. What is his weekly budget of Marlboros?
Monthly budget.
This is the end.
You want to do monthly?
Or what did you say?
We did week, but let's go monthly.
Crap. That just makes the math harder.
Whoa.
You can do weekly, it's fine. I just was clarifying.
How many days in a month?
30.
Thank you for bringing it an even number. Who goes first?
I thought it was Pappy.
That was Pappy. Pappy,
You go
Josh,
first?
Mikey.
Okay, sorry. $6 a pack times 90, which is like $540.
Okay. George.
I was putting more tax on there. I think I did 22 times 30. $22 a day for 30 days, and that's $660.
Mikey.
Wow. I'm gonna go 650.
The song's not actually ending. It's fine. We have plenty of time.
Okay. Mikey says, Pappy, what'd you say?
540, I think.
Oh, no.
Josh, what'd you say?
660.
So you had the highest one, Josh?
Yeah, and Mikey said 10 under me.
Retail price. God damn it. Martin Estevez, monthly in today's time in northern Indiana, would have spent $853.44 on a monthly budget of Marlboros.
How much is a single pack?
How much is a pack?
$10.13.
Oh my God.
God damn.
This is way off.
He might have been buying them by the carton over the state line, though.
Maybe.
I don't know what state that would be.
But Josh,
I mean, it'd probably be
congrats
here.
on winning what you hate. Trivia.
Yeah.
Take us out, man.
Oh, man. I just got to say, this is really exciting that we are recording episodes and releasing them within days, sometimes even hours of the recording. So I hope for you guys listening out there, like sometimes our release schedule is like pretty crazy, but we're trying to get this under control. I think we might have some more regular release schedule stuff coming out. More deep dives like this. If you like this, please reach out. Someone just reached out to us like right away. Elliot Smith on Spotify.
Elliot's what?
You saw it. It's
That's pretty cool.
Elliot with 1 T Smith reached out and he's like, "Hey, I love these episodes." So thank you so much for reaching out, Elliot. But please rate us on Spotify. Write us a comment. That helps us so much. But we'll see you soon.
Special thank you to our patrons: Matt Troll, Brother Brian, Druid King, Nick, The Meg, Nurse Stacy, the wolf. Barky 420. PK. Spencer. Gale. Swole. Cheese Zombie. Sebastian. Dr. Lar. Stone Cold Austin. Nephew Quinn. Best friend Drew. Shatty Daddy. Jimmy the Cricket. Optimus E. The Ayatollah of rock and roll. Durbs. Teddy Ruxpin. Please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast.
You dropped acid? Bar out.
Most of my character was done under the influence of pot. We smoked a lot of that. The film crew just became our guests upriver with us.
Did you drop any acid?
Sure.
Did you drop any acid during film?
Sure.
Did on bridge?
No, I did something else at Dolong Bridge. I didn't take any acid there. I did something else.
What did you do?
I was doing speed then.
It said Harvey Keitel was too urban and too New York in his performance. Which is
what does that mean?
That was Spoilers.